Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe and leave a like. Let's get into the story now. My dad was a good guy when I grew up, however when I was about 12 years old my grandma died. He didn't take it too well and became a depressed alcoholic and was wasting all the money he got his hands on for booze and rum. He got fired from his job because he would rarely go to work, and my mom got so fed up with him that she gave him an ultimatum that he cleans up his act in a month or he has to go. He didn't, and my mother kicked him out. I always felt bad because he lost his mom, job and family for him and tried calling him, but he never picked up. He wasn't in my life for 14 years and I tried to get in contact, but he probably changed his number so we never met up. Fast forward to around February of this year, I get a call from a random number. Turns out it's my dad and he wants to go to a park and just have a talk with me. I agree, and the next day we had a long chat about everything we've done in the past 14 years. I got some closure and I felt that feeling I had with him before his mother died. He lived in another country and got his life together so me and my mother wouldn't be so opposed to him when he came back. I don't know if he needed 14 years, but I digress. My mother is with her sick mother and wouldn't be coming back for an unspecified amount of time, so I offered him a place to stay at my house as long as he could pay for his own utilities. We were trying to save up money to have a kid later on. When I brought him back, my wife Sarah was opposed to this idea but calmed down when he told her that he would be paying for what he uses. Their relationship was a bit strained at first, but they really warmed up to each other, and now that I think about it, there were some red flags, like when we'd talk I asked them what was so funny, they would say nothing and continue their jokes. I also noticed my wife got less and less intimate with me, and when I would try to start something she was in pain, sleepy or on her period. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago, I had a double shift and got home exhausted, but when I opened the door, my dad was balls deep in Sarah. I was fucking livid. Like it was the first time I wanted to physically assault a woman. I turned around, but they started screaming my name, telling me they wanted to talk, but I ignored them and drove over to my friend Michael's house. I called my boss and told her that I wouldn't be able to go to work because of a family problem, and she let me, so I stayed over at Michael's house for almost a week. It was over there where I cried my eyes out. It felt like my heart had been ripped out of my chest. I hated my father the most because he'd left me for 14 years, comes back and fucks my wife. I was seriously thinking some dangerous thoughts when Michael dissuaded me from doing so. I went back home after I cooled down a bit to find out what happened. Sarah had been calling my phone, and when she saw me, I could see that she didn't get enough sleep and her eyes were red. My father came from the basement and I had them tell me when it started, how long was it for, and why they did this. My dad said that it had been happening for a couple months because Sarah made him feel young again. As he was spouting his bullshit, Sarah was crying silently, holding her head and whispering, "I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me." After he was finished making excuses, they dropped a bomb on me. Sarah was pregnant, and he was probably the father. I was seething inside, and I seriously wanted to harm them both, but I managed to keep myself composed enough to ask what she wanted to do with the kid. Sarah wanted to keep the kid BC. Our religion, Catholic, frowns upon abortion, which was funny to me, so I asked her if Catholicism frowns upon cheating, to which she silently sobbed again. My father said he wanted her to keep the child and give it an active father, in which he failed to give me. Sarah then shamelessly asked me whether or not I would help raise the kid, to which I told her to go fuck herself and I would be getting a divorce. She begged me not to in the name of our religion, and it was wrong for us to do, but I was so mad that I told her if she came near me then I would probably hit her. My father asked me to do this in the name of our renewed relationship, and I told him to fuck off Oswell. I feel absolutely sick to my stomach. Sarah and my father have been blowing up my phone asking for forgiveness and to reconsider everything, but I put it on D&D. It hurts so bad because the woman that I loved more than life cheated on me with my dad, who I just reconnected with. I'm honestly so torn. Does anyone have any advice in this situation? My 25M wife, 22F, cheated on me with my father, 52. My family and I have always been close. I've had a really good relationship with my parents, especially my dad. He's always been supportive of me, especially when I got my GF at the time, now wife, pregnant when she was 17 and I was 20. He would help with shelter, food, clothing, and other basic needs. We lived with him and my bedridden, disabled mom for the first few years of daughter's life while I worked and saved money for our own place. So my wife would often be home alone with our daughter and my mom. My dad would work 12-hour or longer shifts early morning to late evening. I started working night shifts to earn more money about a year into this. After a few months, I noticed that my wife and dad were getting very close with each other. They joked around a lot and hung out. I didn't think much of it other than great, they're friends, and left it at that. After a couple of years doing graveyard, I had finally saved enough money for a down payment on a house and was making enough to support our family on our own. We moved out. My wife insisted that she would visit my parents almost daily. I was fine with this as my daughter's grandparents were an important part of her life. Fast forward a couple of more years and I get to work one night. After a couple of hours, the floor manager sends some people home because we all had been working lots of overtime and wanted to save on overtime pay. One was me. I'm excited because I get to spend time with my family. It was about my daughter's bedtime, so I didn't call ahead to let my wife know the good news. I get to my parents' house and go inside. It's dark, so I assume everyone is asleep. I walk through the kitchen, the main entrance, and into the living room, and that's where I find my wife and father embraced with each other. After a few minutes of WTFing, I leave. My wife tries to call me, but I couldn't talk to her. The next day she comes home and we talk. Says she was just lonely at nights because I worked all of the time and my dad was there to help her. I have no idea what to say or think. The two people that I loved more than anything, other than my daughter, had betrayed me. I took some time off of work and kept my daughter with me while my wife stayed at my parents'. My dad has tried to call me, but I can't talk to him. I have no idea if my mom knows, probably not. I have no idea what to do. I'm assuming a divorce, but what my relationship with dad? I'm guessing that's fucked forever. My wife has been cheating on me, and it turns out I'm not the father of our two kids. A little over a month ago, my wife, 34/F, of 9 years asked me, 35/M, for a divorce. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. She had been distant towards me for some time. There had been no affection or intimacy between the two of us for some time. If I approached her about it, either there was some excuse or she would say her depression had been really affecting her. She was also very mean to me and made me feel small. She once made fun of my body in a very hurtful fashion. Plus was always rude to my family when they visited. As for the divorce, she claimed she was unhappy and didn't want us to end up like her parents and their marriage. She also simply stated that she didn't want to see a therapist again like we did prior to having kids. We have 2 girls, one is 3 and the other is 1. After she gave me the news, I stayed at my brother's house. He lives close by and she told me she needed a few days with me not at our house. A few days later, she was very persistent on talking to me further about the divorce and her reasoning behind it. That night, she confessed she has met someone else. He's an old flame from prior to dating me, and she had been seeing him for some time. About 4 to 5 years. He's now in the process of getting divorced from his wife. Basically, she's leaving me for him now that he's getting divorced. She probably would have kept stringing me along if this old flame wasn't getting a divorce. Then came the biggest shock of all. She told me she had started seeing him again prior to the kids being born. The eldest was born in 2017. Since she had been seeing him around that time, she had the kids' DNA tested, and it turns out I'm not the father of the 2 kids I'd been raising. This obviously made me very upset and asked her to leave immediately. I knew I needed a lawyer ASAP and watched what I said before she left, because I honestly wanted to say a lot worse things. Needless to say, I found a lawyer ASAP and started therapy recently as well. The lawyer says the DNA test looks legit. We're in the beginning process of the divorce. All things considering, I'm doing well. I didn't cheat on her or do anything awful. So I can take solace in the fact that I gave this marriage everything I could. Maybe that's odd to say, but I was so unhappy with my wife. Not being around her regularly means I'm gaining back my confidence. I'm feeling like me again. Honestly, I feel nothing for my soon-to-be ex-wife. There had been no love in our relationship for a while, regardless of how hard I tried to reconnect. She purposefully pushed me away, and obviously I know why now. Not being the father of the 2 kids hurts the most. I love them and I love raising them. But I know I have to say goodbye to them, and that's going to be the toughest thing I'll ever do. I'm ready to close these chapters in my life and keep moving forward. I know I can be happy again because I deserve it. I know my worth, and I will find happiness again. TLDR, my wife asked for divorce. She had been cheating on me with an old flame for about 5 years out of our 9 years. The kids I've been raising as my own are actually his and not mine. Thank you for watching.